In this video, we'll explain how you can use the City of Minneapolis Census Data Dashboards. This training will help you understand how to use the dashboards, which are available on the city's website, and interpret the numbers. We'll also explain the uses and limitations of the data in the dashboards. The City of Minneapolis has created a series of dashboards showing the characteristics of people and housing in the city's neighborhoods. The data come from the U.S. Census Bureau. The dashboards can help answer basic questions about city and neighborhood demographics. They're also useful when applying for funding and to provide maps, charts, and data to use in presentations. The dashboards are publicly available on the city's website. 4 of the Minneapolis Neighborhood Census Data Dashboards use data from the American Community Survey, also known as the ACS. A 5th dashboard uses data from a decennial census. We'll be focusing on the ACS data, and we'll use the Minneapolis Neighborhood Demographics Dashboard as an example. However, each of the Minneapolis Neighborhood Census Data Dashboards have a similar look and feel. When you first open a dashboard page on Data Source, we encourage you to first scroll down and read the text about how to use the dashboard. Here you'll find information about what the dashboard contains and how to find it. You'll also find technical notes that provide additional information that's helpful for interpreting the data. When you're ready to use the dashboard, scroll up to the dashboard and click the View Full Screen button. This will make the dashboard easier to navigate. When the dashboard opens, you'll see its title at the top. You'll also see the base population represented in the page you're looking at. For example, the data on this page represents the total population. Below that are 2 rows of buttons. You can click the buttons to go to pages of topics that you'd like to see. As an example, we'll click the Race/Ethnicity button. This will take you to a page that shows the estimated number of people in each neighborhood, separated by race and ethnicity. There are 2 maps at the top. In the center at the top is a section called Map Controls. You can use these controls to select which population you like to see. Once you've chosen a control, the map on the left shows the neighborhood population estimates for the racial or ethnic category you selected, while the map on the right will show the racial or ethnic category as a percentage of each neighborhood's total population. To see specific information about a neighborhood, hover over a neighborhood on the map. This will open a tooltip. Below the maps, you'll find charts of the data for the city as a whole, as well as for a selected neighborhood. To change the selected neighborhood, use the chart controls located between the maps. The charts will now show data that is specific to the neighborhood that you selected. To see more information about what is on the charts, you can hover over the charts. This will open a tooltip. It's important to know that some topic pages do not contain neighborhood-level data. They may contain city-level data only. Other pages, such as the citizenship page, show data by census tract. A tract is an area determined by the U.S. Census Bureau. Tracts do not always fall within the boundaries of a single neighborhood. When tract data are used to create maps, the map on the left will contain the estimates, while the map on the right will show those same tracts with the neighborhood boundaries drawn over the tracts. If you hover over this map, you'll see the neighborhood name. This helps provide a general idea of what tracts are included in each neighborhood. Most of the dashboards contain data collected by the U.S. Census Bureau for the American Community Survey, also called the ACS. Unlike the decennial census, the Census Bureau does not attempt to count all people in housing units for the ACS. Instead, they send surveys to a small number of homes to create a sample. The Bureau then uses the sample to estimate the number of people and housing units. Think of an estimate as an educated guess about the true number of people and housing units in an area. Estimates are not as accurate as counting all people and housing units. Instead, estimates include error, which is called the margin of error, or MOE for short. This error is included in the dashboard data, so let's take a look at an example. Here we have the population page open, and as an example, we'll hover over the Shingle Creek neighborhood. Here the dashboard shows that the estimated number of people living in the Shingle Creek neighborhood is 3,203 plus or minus 673. The number before the plus or minus sign is the estimate, and the number after the plus or minus sign is the margin of error. So the margin of error for this estimate is 673. The margin of error is subtracted and added from the estimate to determine a range. In this case, the range is 2,530 to 3,876. The range means that there is a 90% chance that the true population of the Shingle Creek neighborhood falls between 2,530 and 3,876 people. However, there's a 10% chance that the true population size is bigger or smaller. You can never be 100% sure that an estimate is correct. However, there are ways to measure how reliable an estimate is likely to be. These measurements were done for the data on the dashboards. The results were used to report the reliability of each estimate. You'll see this information when you open a tooltip by hovering over a map or chart. We recommend that you do not use estimates that show a low reliability. When there is a low reliability, it means the margin of error is big compared to the estimate. Think of estimates with a low reliability as saying, nobody knows what the true estimate should be, and people might not even live in this area. Even though ACS estimates include error, they're still the best numbers we have. They're widely used by businesses, government, researchers, and others to provide a common set of numbers. So the dashboards are still incredibly useful for providing a general idea of who lives in Minneapolis neighborhoods. The dashboards can be used to answer basic questions, such as, where do youth live in the city? The estimates, maps, and charts are also helpful when applying for funding, for including in presentations, for learning more about city neighborhoods, etc. You may take screenshots of any part of the dashboard to include in materials you're creating, such as grant applications or presentations. You can also use the estimates in these materials, even if you do not want to include screenshots of maps or charts. If you do use the data from these dashboards, please include the margin of error. This helps people to understand what you now know, that these numbers are estimates and not exact counts. Also, please mention that the estimates come from the U.S. Census Bureau's American Community Survey and include the survey years. For example, when this video was created, the dashboards show that the 2018 to 2022 ACS data were used. Note that these dashboards are updated as new data become available, so you may need to use a different date range when you mention where the data came from. Finally, please mention that you got the neighborhood numbers and any maps or charts from a dashboard created by the City of Minneapolis. The U.S. Census Bureau does not release estimates for neighborhoods. The City of Minneapolis calculates these estimates, so it's important for people to know where the estimates come from. Also, remember to include a link so people can easily find the dashboard. When you include actual data in a presentation or funding application, you increase your impact. People will understand your message better when they can see the actual numbers. For example, if you simply say, the Jordan neighborhood has a lot of young children, that's not very specific. People may wonder how this compares to the rest of the city. But if you instead say, while 22% plus or minus 2% of Jordan residents are under age 10, it's estimated that 11% plus or minus 0% of city residents are under age 10, people can more easily see that the Jordan neighborhood has a greater percentage of young children compared to the city as a whole. It's even more clear if you also include a chart. People can see there's a greater percentage of youth under 10 in the Jordan neighborhood compared to the entire city. Giving specific numbers can help a funding application because it demonstrates the impact the funding could have. When money is limited, organizations deciding who to give funding to want to make sure they're using it in ways that will have the greatest impact. The dashboards are a useful tool that can provide data for materials such as presentations and funding applications. Including data, maps, and charts can increase the impact of your message. Remember that ACS estimates include error, so be sure to include the margin of error when using this data. And avoid using estimates with low reliability. Finally, remember to cite the U.S. Census Bureau and the City of Minneapolis when including data from these dashboards in any of your materials. To view a dashboard, visit minneapolismn.gov/datasource. That wraps up how to use the dashboards that are available on the city's website. Thank you for taking the time to view this video.